Hey there, Nate again. Today we're going to be discussing how aperture works. So, what is the aperture, you ask? Well, I'm sure you're probably thinking it's the thing with all the little blades that close up together and make that little circle. No, actually, that's called the iris. You can see it. Let's get the reflection right. There. Right there at the bottom of the frame, you can see some of the blades of the iris. That is not the aperture. This is the aperture. Can you see it opening and closing like that? I'm doing that over here with my thumb. There's a little lever right here on the camera that you slide, and that opens and closes the iris to create the aperture. The word aperture means hole. I mean, if you look it up in the dictionary, it means an opening or a hole. And that's exactly what this is. It's a hole that opens and closes and allows light into the camera. So that's one thing that confuses many people, is they think that the iris is actually the aperture. So now you know. Okay, so as you guys know, the way the aperture system works, as in terms of breaking it down into stops, is something I'm still a little confused about. That doesn't, however, mean that I don't know how to use aperture. The way you use it is you look at the number that pops up on your camera right here. Oh, reflection. Oh, there it is. Oh, it went out. Right there. f2.8. So that refers to the size of the opening of the aperture. And what the F means is that, again, I'm not 100% sure how this works, but the reason it's called F is it's the measure. It's some sort of ratio. It's the measurement of the actual opening of the actual size of the aperture and the focal length of the lens. It's some ratio of the two of those, and that's how you get your aperture number. That's how you get 2.8. Because obviously, if you look, this is 2.8, if you can see that opening, and then that's 2.8 right there again. So it's obviously a much bigger opening as you zoom in and zoom out, just because of the way the glass magnifies and stuff and as it zooms in. But that's how that works. It's some mathematical formula. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but it's something to do with the actual width of the opening of the iris and the focal length of the lens. So when we're at f2.8, you can see that when I press the depth of field button right here, the iris doesn't close. And that's because it's as wide open as it can go. But as your f number gets larger, so let's say I go from 2.8 to 5.6, the aperture gets smaller. So watch what happens when I hit the depth of field button now. Can you see it? The reflection's coming off the window is a little hard to see. There, that's a little better. You can see, and when I let go, it opens up again. So if I were to go even further down, let's say f8, now it's even smaller than that. And if we go all the way as far as the suns will go, which is f22, real tiny, itty-bitty little hole right there. So that's the way the numbering system works in terms of the size of the hole. As your aperture number gets larger, the opening of the aperture shrinks. That's something that confuses a lot of people that think, oh, well, it's f2.8, it's a little tiny hole, and f22, oh, it's real big. No, it's actually the other way around. f2.8 is a big hole, and f22 is a tiny, tiny little aperture. So hopefully that cleared up some confusion that I'm sure a lot of you people, a lot of you guys out there had. Okay, so how does aperture work in regard to making your pictures different exposures? The way it works is, when you're at an aperture such as f2.8, it's a wider aperture, and the bigger the aperture is, the more light you get in through the lens. And as it closes, light gets smaller, less and less and less and less and less. That's why I only use f2.8 lenses, because I do a lot of low light shooting. And as I'm sure you guys have heard me mention in my other videos, I used to use the 55 to 200mm f4 to 5.6 lens, which had a floating aperture that would go all the way down to 5.6. Meaning that when I would shoot a photo with that lens on a football field, I'd be at f5.6. If I were to zoom all the way to 200mm, it'd be at f5.6. if I'm at 200 millimeters on my 70 to 200 millimeter lens and I'm shooting on a football field, that photo is 4 times brighter than the photo with the lens at f5.6. So the smaller your f number is, the brighter your photos are. And as it shrinks, so does the amount of light that comes into your lens. Okay, so I think that just about does it for everything I need to tell you guys about how Aperture works. Something's telling me I missed something in there, so if you think I missed anything, please let me know, and I'll explain what I can for you. Like I said before, Aperture is one of the things that I'm not 100% with. Like I said, with the way it breaks down in terms of full stops, half stops, and that kind of stuff, still kind of boggles me a little bit. If you can help me out on that, please do, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help each other out. So do let me know if you have any questions. My name is Nate, and I hope you've enjoyed this explanation of how Aperture works.